Whenever I'm around a toddler, I'm just struck by the questions, nonstop.
Yeah. The whys.
Exactly. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds sing? It's like their whole world is built on asking why. It's their engine for figuring everything out.
It really is pure discovery mode.
But then somehow as we get older, that seems to fade.
Yeah.
We kind of stop asking. We just accept, oh, well, that's just how things are.
Right. We lose that superpower, as you put it.
So in this deep dive, we want to try and reclaim that. We're looking at curiosity, not just as, a personality thing you either have or don't, but as a cognitive tool, something fundamental, something you can actually train. Our mission really is to get into the psychology, the neuroscience behind it. How does asking why literally change your brain?
Yeah, and how does it impact, like, your relationships, your work, just making life more interesting?
Exactly. We're going to explore why that simplest question, why, might just be the most powerful one you can ask.
It's such a crucial point. We start out as these natural explorers, questioners. But you're right, somewhere along the way, maybe it's society, maybe just getting busy.
Yeah, the daily grind.
We kind of get conditioned out of it, almost like it's impolite or childish or just not efficient to keep asking why. But the key thing, like you said, is that it's not fixed. It's like a mental muscle. You can strengthen it.
Yeah.
And understanding how it works, that's where you can really start using it deliberately.
Okay, so let's get into that. To really understand this muscle, where does our sort of modern scientific thinking about curiosity even come from? Did people always see it as this positive force?
That's a great place to start because actually the history is pretty fascinating. It's been a bit of a roller coaster.
Oh.
Well, if you go way back, like ancient Greece, you've got Socrates, right? The unexamined life is not worth living. He was all about questioning.
Right, the Socratic method.
Exactly. And Aristotle, too, he saw curiosity as this fundamental human drive, just wanting to know stuff for its own sake.
Okay, so they were fans.
Definitely. But then you also have these other stories, these myths cropping up in different cultures. Think Pandora's box.
Ah, yeah. Don't open the box.
Right. Or the Garden of Eden story. Curiosity or wanting knowledge you're not supposed to have leads to disaster, moral failure even.
So it was viewed with suspicion, too, like don't pry too much.
Absolutely. For centuries, it was this real duality of virtue and a potential vice, kind of a Jekyll and Hyde thing, revered on one hand, but also dangerous.
Wow. Jekyll and Hyde, I like that.
Yeah.
So we were kind of walking this tightrope with it for ages. When did that start to shift? When did science start to, systematically unpack it?
Yeah, that tension was there for a long time. The real shift towards, let's say, a more systematic psychological study started happening in the 20th century.
Okay.
And a really key figure there was Daniel Berlin back in the 50s and 60s. He made this incredibly useful distinction between different kinds of curiosity. It helps us understand what we're actually talking about.
Different kinds. Okay, like what?
Well, first he talked about diversive curiosity. This is more shallow. Restless. It's that feeling when you're just endlessly scrolling social media.
Right, clicking on headlines.
Exactly. You're looking for novelty, for stimulation, the next interesting little bit. But it's not necessarily about deep understanding. It's kind of like mental grazing.
Okay, mental grazing.
Right.
Or maybe like intellectual window shopping.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Then, in contrast, Berlin identified specific curiosity.
Specific, okay.
This is the deep dive stuff. It's that focused desire to find a particular answer, to fill a specific gap in your knowledge.
Oh, like when you absolutely have to know how a magic trick works or who the killer is in a mystery novel.
Precisely. Or a scientist working for years on one problem. That intense focus to find out whodunit or solve the equation. That's the kind of curiosity Berlin highlighted as being really powerful, really transformative. And that's mostly what we mean when we talk about harnessing curiosity.
That makes so much more sense. It's not just any fleeting interest, but that targeted, deep need to know. And what really blew my mind in the research was how this isn't just like a feeling. It's a real process in the brain.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that? What's happening neurologically when we feel that mental itch?
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating because it really is like an itch in the brain. The big theory here from George Lowenstein is called the information gap theory.
Information gap. Okay.
Basically, he says curiosity sparks when we notice a gap between what we know and what we want to know. Like imagine your knowledge is this smooth surface, and suddenly there's a hole or a dip. That gap creates this feeling of deprivation. It's actually a bit uncomfortable, a mental itch, like you said.
So it's not just, oh, that's interesting. It's more like, I don't know this and it's bothering me.
Exactly. There's an actual feeling of lack. And scratching that itch, finding the answer feels inherently rewarding.
And this is literally happening in the brain circuitry.
Oh yeah, it's not just a metaphor. When your curiosity is triggered like that, it fires up the same neural pathways involved in other cravings, like hunger or desire for, say, money or food.
Wow.
Your brain is literally anticipating a reward, the reward being the information, the answer. It's actively seeking it out.
So what does that look like chemically? What's firing up?
Okay, so picture this. You encounter something weird or something contradicts what you thought you knew. That creates the gap. That's the spark. Instantly, brain areas involved in detecting conflict or surprise, like the anterior cingulate cortex, they light up. That's the, what's going on here moment.
Okay, the brain notices something's off.
Right. Then that desire to resolve the kicks in. And this activates the brain's reward circuit, which is heavily driven by dopamine.
Dopamine. The pleasure molecule?
Well, yes and no. We often call it that, but it's maybe more accurate to call it the motivation molecule.
Oh, okay. How so?
It's not just about feeling good after you get the reward. It's the chemical that actually pushes you, motivates you to go seek the reward in the first place. It fuels the hunt for the answer.
So it's the engine of the search itself. That's huge.
Yeah.
And I remember reading about Dr. Matthias Gruber's work on memory, how curiosity doesn't just help you remember the thing you were curious about.
Yes, that's one of the most exciting parts. Gruber and his team found something really amazing. When your brain is in that curious state, it doesn't just become better at learning the specific answer you're looking for. It actually gets better at learning and remembering everything that's happening around that time.
Wait, everything? So like incidental stuff too?
Exactly. In their studies, people who were highly curious about the answer to a specific question showed much better memory for unrelated background information presented at the same time, stuff they weren't even trying to learn.
So if I'm really curious about, I don't know, how black holes work, and while I'm reading about it, someone tells me their phone number, I'm more likely to remember the phone number too, even though it's totally unrelated.
That's the gist of it, yeah. It's like curiosity puts your brain into this super absorbent learning mode.
A learning supercharger. Why? What's the mechanism there?
It comes back to that dopamine rush. It seems that dopamine doesn't just target the reward pathway, it also boosts activity in the hippocampus.
Which is the memory center, right?
Exactly. The brain's hub for making new memories. So when you're curious, the dopamine essentially tells your hippocampus, hey, pay attention. This is important stuff happening right now. Record everything. It primes the whole memory system.
That is genuinely incredible. It makes the learning process so much more efficient.
Totally. It optimizes the brain for encoding information more broadly.
Okay, so bringing this down to earth, what does this mean for you listening right now? This isn't just cool brain science, right? It's usable.
Absolutely. Think about work, for instance.
Yeah. Who are the people who really drive innovation? It's usually not the ones just ticking boxes. It's the ones asking, why do we do it this way?
Right. Is there a better way?
That questioning leads to better problem solving, finding creative angles, and honestly, probably a more interesting career too. I mean, look at something like Google's 20% time.
Oh, yeah. The policy where engineers could spend a chunk of their week on passion projects.
Exactly. Things that just made them curious. And out of that came huge things like Gmail, AdSense, driven by allowing that specific curiosity to flourish.
It shows the tangible result.
And it's not just work, is it? Think about relationships. How often do we jump to conclusions about why someone did something?
All the time. Judgment comes easily.
But what if, instead of thinking, ugh, that was so thoughtless, you paused and got curious?
Yeah.
Like actually asked, hey, I'm curious, what was going through your mind when that happened?
That changes everything, doesn't it? It shifts from accusation to understanding.
It fosters empathy. It reduces conflict. It shows you actually value their perspective, even if you don't agree with the action. It's moving from, I know why you did that, to, I want to understand.
That's a massive shift, and it applies to personal growth, too. Think about learning a new skill, language, instrument, coding, whatever. It can feel like such a grind sometimes.
Oh, yeah. The drills, the memorization.
But if you frame it differently, as an exploration driven by curiosity, instead of just memorizing vocabulary, maybe you get curious about word origins. Why does this word mean that?
Or with music, instead of just scales, asking, why does this chord progression sound sad or happy?
Exactly. What makes this melody stick in my head? When you approach it that way, you're tapping into that natural reward system we talked about.
The dopamine motivation.
Right. And suddenly the hard work starts to feel less like a chore and more like, well, play. Like solving a puzzle you want to solve. And things tend to stick better then, too.
Okay, so the science is compelling, the applications are clear, but there are still these lingering myths about curiosity that might hold people back, right? Let's bust a few.
Good idea.
Myth number one, curiosity is fixed. You're either born curious or you're not. End of story.
Yeah, that's a common one. And the reality, while sure, some people might naturally lean more inquisitive, the research overwhelmingly shows curiosity is both a state you can enter and a skill you can develop.
Like that mental muscle idea again.
Exactly. It strengthens with use. You can actively, consciously choose to cultivate it by asking more questions, seeking out things you don't understand. It's definitely not fixed.
Okay, busted. What about the old saying, curiosity killed the cat? That sounds like a pretty direct warning.
It does, doesn't it? But if you really think about what that proverb likely warns against, it's probably more about reckless prying, physical danger, sticking your nose where it doesn't belong in a harmful way.
Right, like literally poking a dangerous animal or something.
Perhaps. It's almost certainly not about intellectual curiosity, the drive to understand, to learn. In fact, that kind of curiosity is key to our survival. It's how we adapt, innovate, figure out our world.
So maybe the saying should be,
I sometimes think a better one would be, indifference starved the cat.
ooh, I like that. Indifference starved the cat. Okay, last one. Myth 3. Asking why is childish, or it makes you look ignorant, especially at work or in serious settings.
This is a big one, and maybe the most counterproductive. In today's world, things are so complex, right? Information overload.
Totally.
In that kind of environment, being willing to say, hang on, I don't understand this, can you explain why? Or why is this the assumption we're making? That's not ignorance, that's actually a sign of strength, of intellectual honesty.
It takes courage to admit you don't know.
It really does. And often, the smartest people in the room aren't the ones with all the answers ready. They're the ones asking the most fundamental, probing questions. They're digging deeper.
So looking ahead then, this skill, this mindset,
Yeah,
it seems like it's becoming even more important.
I think so, absolutely. Think about AI, automation. The value of just knowing facts is decreasing because machines can do that.
Right. Information recall isn't the premium skill anymore.
But asking creative questions, critical questions, insightful whys, that's where humans excel. That's becoming the real value. You see it shifting in education, too. Less rote memorization, more inquiry-based learning, trying to nurture that innate curiosity.
Teaching kids how to think, not just what facts to store.
Precisely. And on the neuroscience front, researchers are still mapping the curious brain. They're exploring how understanding these circuits might help with things like memory disorders or even mental health. Imagine using a curious, non-judgmental approach fostered intentionally to help manage anxiety.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It really feels like the future belongs to the curious.
So we started with that image of the toddler, asking endless whys, that raw, unfiltered drive to understand. And yeah, life happens. We get busy, maybe we're embarrassed to ask, we settle into routines. That voice can get quieter.
It can.
But it doesn't disappear. And the science we've talked about makes it so clear. This isn't just some trivial personality quirk. Curiosity actively primes your brain. It boosts learning, strengthens memories, sparks innovation, deepens connections. It's a powerful cognitive state.
It really is a fundamental tool.
So how do you start flexing that muscle again? If you're listening and thinking, okay, I want more of this.
Start small. Don't feel like you need to suddenly question everything. Just pick one thing today, something you usually just accept.
Like what?
Could be anything. How your favorite app really works. Why a certain law is the way it is. A belief you've always held but never really examined.
Oh, yeah.
And just ask why. And here's the key. Don't stress about finding the answer immediately. Just sit with the question for a bit.
Feel the itch.
Feel the itch. Notice that information gap. Acknowledge the, That feeling is the starting point. That's your curiosity waking up. That's the beginning of the workout.
It's a powerful thought. By just embracing that simple question, why? You're not only learning more about the world around you, you're literally retraining your brain, making it more agile, more observant, maybe even more empathetic.
Changing your mind for the better.
So maybe the most profound answers we seek don't actually come from already having all the knowledge. Maybe they come from finding the courage to never stop asking why.